Sir Keir Starmer told MPs that it was staggering and unbelievable that he hadn't been told that Peter Mandelson had failed security vetting. The opposition and some Labour MPs said the risks of appointing Mandelson had been obvious from the start and accused the Prime Minister of being deliberately incurious about the security checks. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, is with me. Gary.
Well, this was a very tense session for Keir Starmer in the chamber. He looked pretty sweaty. He looked quite nervous a few times. He looked under pressure. It's damaging. And the silence behind him, the deafening silence from his own MPs, that's something you hear as a leader, and you know how dark that can be. As you said, the opposition, most of the opposition, have moved their criticism. They've moved their tents of battle. They're no longer saying defiantly this was a cover-up by Keir Starmer. They're making slightly different accusations about his judgment in choosing Peter Mandelson in the first place for the Washington job, about his incurious nature, and the insinuation that basically Whitehall is running rings around him and making a monkey out of him, perhaps on a daily basis. Curiously, Sir Olly Robbins, the head of the Foreign Office, as was, who is going to give evidence tomorrow to MPs, the line of attack or defence of his reputation that he's using does Keir Starmer a bit of a favour, because he's not saying, I did this all on the quiet, rushing through the Peter Mandelson nomination because I knew Keir Starmer wanted it. That would make him look a bit of a depleted public figure. He's saying I was doing it because it was absolute due process. It's how this whole thing is meant to be managed. In the end, it's a judgment call by the senior civil servant at the top, and you can put in mitigations even if the vetting process has come up with a negative. Meanwhile, the opposition are sensing blood. There's talk of a contempt motion being considered. And in the Labour Party, well, Keir Starmer stays in this curious limbo. His MPs are neither backing him nor sacking him.
3 days after Peter Mandelson was announced as ambassador to Washington, the vetting unit within Whitehall began its work. 5 weeks later, it completed its inquiries, ticking the red box marker, high concern, and then ticked another red box, clearance, denied or withdrawn. The Prime Minister told the Commons he only heard anything about that 6 days ago, long after Peter Mandelson's appointment and sacking.
I know many members across the House will find these facts to be incredible. To that, I can only say they are right. It beggars belief that throughout the whole timeline of events, officials in the Foreign Office saw fit to withhold this information from the most senior ministers in our system in government.
His opponents jeered, but most of them have now dropped the allegation that the Prime Minister was lying and accepted the senior civil servant, Olly Robbins, who the Prime Minister sacked last week, had withheld that information. Sir Olly's expected to tell MPs tomorrow he couldn't share the outcome of a vetting process that investigates every aspect of private and professional life.
And you can rest assured that all the information we collect from you during the process is held in the strictest confidence.
The Prime Minister said he should have done just that.
If I had known before he took up his post that UKSV recommendation was that developed vetting clearance should be denied, I would not have gone ahead with the appointment.
I'm speaking to you from the ambassador's residence.
Peter Mandelson announcing his arrival in Washington only a few days after the vetting. Keir Starmer was accused of being too committed to his candidacy to check on a vetting process that was bound to throw up concerns.
He didn't even speak to Peter Mandelson before his appointment. It doesn't appear that he asked any questions at all. Why? Because he didn't want to know. He had taken the risk. He had chosen his man. Whitehall had to follow.
Leafing through his papers, the Prime Minister looked under pressure. His opponents were determined to add to it.
We needed a government of honesty, integrity and accountability. So will the Prime Minister finally accept that the only way he can help to deliver that is to resign?
Does he believe himself to be gullible, incompetent, or both?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank him for his question. I've laid out
The normal courtesies did surface still, as did the grandstanding stunts, like unparliamentary accusations of lying.
We don't use those words, and I'm sure the members withdrawn it.
I will not withdraw. That man couldn't lie straight in bed.
Order. You'll have to leave.
The Prime Minister is a barefaced liar, and if you had any decency left...
No, order. Sit and leave.
Some said the original sin wasn't Whitehall's, but the Prime Minister's in his choice of ambassador.
Peter Mandelson has a history. It's one thing to say, as he insists on saying, nobody told me. Nobody told me anything. Nobody told me. The question is, why didn't the Prime Minister ask?
Cheers from the opposition benches. Labour MPs sat in silence.
It feels like the ground beneath the Prime Minister's feet is now beginning to shift.
It wasn't very steady to start with. That sounds quite ominous.
It's not been too steady just recently, as we know. I think it probably is ominous.
Allies of the sacked Foreign Office chief insist the government's misrepresenting the vetting ticked box as the final judgment, saying that decision, and whether to put in special job restrictions, always rests with top officials.
He has certainly been done an injustice. The decision was made by Olly Robbins that, with safeguards, he could give clearance to Mandelson. And that was a service to the government because that's what they wanted. And now he's been dismissed for it.
Cover-up allegations against Keir Starmer over the Peter Mandelson appointment were today overshadowed by questions of judgment. That gives little respite and adds to the indictment list for his internal critics.
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the Cabinet Office Minister, Nick Thomas-Symonds, and I first asked him why the Prime Minister didn't apologise to MPs today for the fact they had been told inaccurate information.
Well, the Prime Minister, first of all, did take responsibility for the decision. He did apologise to Epstein's victims and completely accepted he made an error of judgment in appointing Peter Mandelson. Well, look, I mean, he's made statements to MPs throughout this process that were absolutely to the best of the facts as he knew them. The issue, Krishnan, has been this fact that neither he nor ministers like me were aware of. The Prime Minister throughout has been trying to help the Commons and to be candid with people. It's this new information that only came to light last Tuesday that's been the issue. And of course he wanted to come to the Commons to update MPs on that today.
He may not have intended to mislead the House, but the House was misled. And you all seem, you know, as angry about it as anybody. But as Ed Davey said, this is the definition of being in office but not in power. And that seriously undermines you as a government.
But no, I totally disagree. And I mean, the comparison Ed Davey was seeking to make today, I don't accept at all. If you
didn't know what was going on.
If you go
That's
back,
very shocking.
Listen, it is extremely shocking that this information.
Yes, but you're supposed to know what's going on. That's why it's shocking. Well, you know, and it suggests that there's a level of incompetence in government if you don't.
I really don't accept that, Krishnan, because, and I can say this personally, ministers have been asking these questions. I have asked these questions in detail before going to Commons debates, and other ministers have done that. It hasn't been the case that we haven't been holding the system to account and asking questions. It's that this information has not been made available. That doesn't go to the kind of issues that you're talking about. And Ed Davey is completely wrong to try to draw comparisons with Boris Johnson, who himself received a fixed penalty notice for his own conduct during the COVID pandemic, when people up and down the country were following rules that he chose to take that blasé attitude to in Downing Street.
But doesn't this boil down to the Prime Minister's judgment over Mandelson? I mean, it wasn't just vetting that warned against appointing him. It was people in his own team. There were lots of people raising concerns about his contacts with China and Russia and his record in government and the fact that he'd resigned twice or been sacked twice, and yet he overrode that. Now, the Prime Minister tells us today that had he known about the vetting, he would have cancelled his appointment. Why should we believe that when he overrode the concerns of so many people along the way?
Well, look, the Prime Minister completely accepts that he made an error of judgment in appointing Peter Mandelson. He quite appropriately today, again, apologised to Epstein's victims. But when you're talking about the Prime Minister's judgment, it shouldn't be defined on this issue, it should be defined on the judgments he's been taking for the country. You only have to look at the last few weeks to see his judgment in contrast to other party leaders.
That's a good
on not getting
deflection, but it doesn't address
the war in Iran. It's not
his
a deflection,
misjudgment
it's about
over
his
Mandelson.
judgment. It's about his judgment, Christian. It's not a deflection at all. Now, he accepts he got the judgment wrong about Mandelson. He openly said it and said that to the House of Commons today, but that shouldn't detract
but he's
from
never
the
explained
big judgments
why.
he got right.
He's never explained why. He's just said, yes, it was wrong. I mean, he needs to explain why he made this misjudgment.
Well, no, it's not about... I mean, this is about, obviously, a very hugely important diplomatic post that is crucial to our relationship with the United States. And the Prime Minister was in good faith, obviously, trying to get that right. He accepts that he didn't. And that was very clear in what he said to the House of Commons today. But we are also looking at this process, this whole process of direct ministerial appointments to the civil service, and indeed, as in this case, to ambassadorial posts. And the Prime Minister, on each and every occasion, has been saying, whether it's the time of that he sacked, in effect, Peter Mandelson last September, when we were looking at the humble address, which, by the way, we will comply with fully, the Prime Minister has been looking at this process and ensuring that we make the changes that we need to it for the future. And that's the work he's continuing to lead.
Nick Thomas-Symonds, thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishnan.
Well, with me now is the Conservative MP, Katie Lamb. Now, I interviewed your leader on Friday, and she was full of accusations of Starmer being a liar and that he should quit. And we didn't hear that today. So have you shifted your criticism from liar to incompetent?
No, I think we were all clear, the whole of the Conservative Parliamentary Party was clear today that the Prime Minister, whether intentionally or not, has misled the House. And if it was inadvertently, then he didn't have information that he definitely should have had.
But she was calling him a liar last week, and you're not calling him a liar tonight, are you?
The Prime Minister unquestionably has said things in the House that are untrue.
Yes,
he claims
that's not the same as being a liar, is it?
But there's a question of intent. It's either information that he had and didn't share, in which case it's a lie, or he didn't have it and he really should have done, in which case he's incompetent. Those are the two options, and they are both bad.
I just wonder whether you went a bit hard on the lies allegations last week, because it's not looking like the Prime Minister lied now, is it? I mean, it's looking like he wasn't told, and he wasn't in control.
If the Prime Minister really wasn't told by officials that Peter Mandelson had effectively failed vetting, or that the advice from MI6 was to fail him for vetting, then the only way that he could not have known about this is if he made it very clear that he didn't want to know. Now, whether or not technically there was information that he did or didn't have, he absolutely should have had it. This is a question of national security, and he is our Prime Minister. He is either a liar or he has completely lost control.
So are you saying you believe him or not tonight?
I'm saying it almost doesn't matter, because both of the options are so poor.
Because there's a difference between incompetence and a lack of integrity.
But neither.
And you can say, well, it's one or the other, but he's now said to you at length in the House, I didn't know and I wasn't told. Do you believe him?
We still don't have enough information to know. Fundamentally, I find him very difficult to believe. If you look at the Independent story from 7 months ago, for example, it said in the newspaper, Peter Mandelson failed vetting. Now, we know that the Director of Communications at Number 10 knew about that story because the journalist got in touch with them directly.
He was the one who was texting.
Was the Prime Minister told about that? If he was told, what questions did he ask? If he wasn't told, why not? That seems very strange. We still have so many questions. It is impossible at the moment to know what is the truth and what is a lie.
Isn't part of the trouble, though, with this as well, that the more talk there is of politicians lying, the more it reminds us of Boris Johnson?
No, I think the problem with this is that we have a Prime Minister that is either not telling us the truth or has absolutely no grip whatsoever on his government. He is the man who is supposed to be running the country, and if he is appointing to our most sensitive ambassadorial position somebody who has failed security vetting, this is a fundamental failure of leadership and of integrity.
Well, what did you think of Mandelson at the time of the appointments? I mean, honestly, was there part of you seeing him standing there in the Oval Office doing a deal with Trump thinking he's not a bad appointment for this very unusual president?
No, I thought this is a man who has been notoriously dodgy for as long, essentially, as I can remember. The first time Peter Mandelson was fired...
Did you say that at the time?
The first time Peter Mandelson was fired from Cabinet, I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
This is a man who has spent his entire career sailing far too close to the wind. I didn't think it was a good appointment then. I thought that we should have kept Karen Pierce, who had a very strong relationship with Trump, and I think the same thing now.
Did you say that at the time? Or
what, in public?
A little bit of sort of retrospect?
Peter Mandelson is perhaps the most famous dodgy politician in Britain. I have thought from the moment he was appointed that this was insane.
Katie Lamb, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.